So we all know DeKalb Junction. You know, the junction that is responsible for destroying the B division. Every time I am on transit YouTube, I always see how bad DeKalb Junction is, and how people want to deinterline it, which is a fair point. As someone who had to go through DeKalb Junction more times than I would have preferred, there is always a 90% chance that my train would just take a nap because of another train ahead. But I am not here to talk about DeKalb Junction. I am here to talk about a junction even worse than DeKalb, but never gets the same notoriety. This is the story of the 59th Street Junction on Central Park West. So how does the 59th Street Junction work? Well, it takes one service from the local track and one service from the express track and merges them together in order to head towards another line. To translate, the A and D trains are on the express tracks, and the B and C trains are on the local tracks. Now, to access the I and D 6th Avenue line, the B from the local track and the D from the express track must merge onto a single track. At first, it doesn't seem that big of a deal. But if a B and D train show up at the exact same time, one of the trains would have to be delayed for the other to go. And whatever line of trains that is behind that delayed train would also get delayed too, causing a massive backup. Imagine taking a train on Central Park West, then all of a sudden your train stops because of a delayed train at 59th Street waiting for the other train to move. Then your train starts again, and for a bit, the train makes some impressive speeds, only to stop again because of another delayed train at 59th Street, again waiting for the other train to move. Repeat that for a few more times. That is the 59th Street Junction in action. So, the MTA reduces service to accommodate and prevent these delays from happening. But how much capacity does the 59th Street Junction reduce? And is the capacity reduction worse than DeKalb? To answer these few questions, let's take a look at some numbers. The A and D combined run at 17 trains per hour, and the B and C combined run at 13 trains per hour. That is a combined 30 trains per hour that run through the 59th Street Junction. In Brooklyn, the B, D, and Q run at a combined 38 trains per hour over the Manhattan Bridge, and those trains also run through DeKalb Junction, meaning that DeKalb Junction can handle 38 trains per hour. And just a little side note, the R doesn't count because it already turns west via Montague before all of the train switching takes place. Since 30 is less than 38, it means that the 59th Street Junction is worse than DeKalb at switching trains in their respective places, which is what junctions are supposed to do. Now, I know that there are more merges at play that limit capacity, but according to the MTA, that is the maximum capacity that they can run through those junctions with current services, and any more will result in massive delays. This is why I am making this video. Even though I mentioned this junction in the Nostrand and Morningside Avenue videos, I keep seeing rail fans in the comments propose the same layout like 59th Street on other lines. For example, there is this very popular deinterlining plan that I have seen that has made its way to the comments section here. It involves the 4th Avenue on the West End line, where for peak direction express service, one express and one local would branch off of 4th Avenue and head together on West End. That is the same layout on 59th Street. It is awesome that you want to deinterline DeKalb, but by proposing this monstrosity, you effectively swapped one form of delay with another, which is not a great way of spending money nor time. If you want your peak direction West End service, reroute the R via West End and Astoria, and now the R can have yard access at Coney Island. But I hear the comments yelling at me right now. Just time your trains better and most of the capacity output would be fixed. Yeah, we can just time our way out of any junction. Just load up a schedule and put in those times. and don't allow any B and D trains to cross. Well, that would work if all trains ran at the exact frequency, but we don't live in that world. All 4 trains have very different frequencies. The A gets way more capacity than the C, and the D gets slightly more capacity than the B. This is because the A train has 3 branches, which means that it needs all the capacity that it can get, while the D serves some important destinations on its route. These varying frequencies make scheduling trains a headache. For example, if we have both tracks used close to their maximum capacity, which is 30 trains per hour, and have the A and D get 15 trains per hour, while the B and C get 10 trains per hour, there is going to be a time when you have the B and D trains show up. And yeah, delays would happen. Here, I'll show you. We first got an A and B arriving at 8 o'clock. Then the D train comes in at 8:02, followed by a C train at 8:03. An A train follows at 8:04. Then a B train comes in at 8:06. But since the D runs every 4 minutes, another D train is also coming in at 8:06. And that delay starts, where one train gets held and any train behind it will also get held. This is called the least common multiple, where any 2 numbers would eventually have a shared number. You will also need some insane pinpoint precision to time those trains, so that the trains can run on schedule without screwing each other. And you know that is very possible. It is not like the B and D train run through DeKalb Junction, a junction where trains get delayed 90% of the time. And it's not like the C train merges with the E then with the A, and is rated the worst train in every metric, including reliability. I am being sarcastic here, but saying just time your trains better bro is extremely unrealistic when trains get delayed all the time by each other and run at different frequencies. But I hear interlining advocates yelling at me again, this time about CBTC, and how CBTC can solve this capacity problem while maintaining interlining, because trains can operate closer together. But you're asking way too much from CBTC. You're maybe going to get an extra 4 trains per hour if you interline, which, don't get me wrong, is something. And CBTC is awesome as it dramatically improves on-time performance, reduces uncertainty, and again, boosts capacity, which is why I want it on every single line. But when you spend a great deal of time and money just to get an extra 4 trains per hour, that is nothing to celebrate about. Those are rookie numbers, and the capacity scam is still ever present. CBTC can handle 40 trains per hour, but with IND geometric specifications, it is more like 36 trains per hour. But by interlining, you maybe have 21 trains per hour on the express and 17 trains per hour on the local, up from 17 and 13 respectively. You are still leaving 15 trains per hour on the express and 19 trains per hour on the local on the table. Which silly isn't needed because the IND 8th Avenue line serves 1 million riders a day, and that is more than the Queens Boulevard line, one of the most overcrowded lines in the system. You know what, de-interline please, as you get full track capacity, meaning a capacity increase of more than 10 trains per hour. So how would I de-interline 59th Street? Interesting question. There are 2 options. The first one is rather simple. Having the B and D going express to Concourse and the A and D going local to Inwood, or vice versa. That would be a clean separation at 59th Street and 145th Street, where the Concourse line branches off from Central Park West. Before I get comments on Inwood getting local service only, I want to remind everyone of this. Your beloved Express only saves like 3 minutes of runtime. That is some really sick profit, right? But if you insist on having Concourse or Inwood riders having an Express, use the Van Stuckenragen and Ude Schultz plan. It would involve A and C trains being local, and B and D trains being express. And hold on, I'm not done yet. The A would run local between 168th Street and World Trade Center, while the C would run local during rush hours between Bedford Park Boulevard and World Trade Center, with restricted reverse peak service. The B train would run express from Inwood to the 6th Avenue line, and the D train would remain as is. This eliminates the need for the 59th Street junction, because only one pair of tracks is using the access point to the 6th Avenue line and not two, while also preserving express service to Inwood and Concourse riders. If you're asking why I have this weird service pattern for the C, it is because how the junction works at 145th Street. Here, 4 tracks turn into 7, with 3 going down to the Concourse line. What I mean is that under this plan, the A and B trains would continue north on their own tracks. The C and D trains would branch off from the A and B trains respectively, and go onto Concourse. But since in the peak direction, C and D trains have their own tracks to switch onto, that is acceptable. So we can run regular service in the peak direction with 15 trains per hour on the D and 10 trains per hour for the C. But in the reverse peak direction, we will have C and D trains merging onto one track, mimicking the problem seen at 59th Street. So to prevent that, I am restricting service on the C in the reverse peak direction so that the junction is easier to time. And this is justified because the A or C doesn't travel to Brooklyn, so it will see a lower ridership in the reverse peak direction anyways. Also, since World Trade Center restricts capacity to 24 trains per hour, you can get away with maybe 6 or 7 trains per hour in the reverse peak direction for the C, as it is easier to time with that restricted capacity. In the morning, when those extra C trains end at World Trade Center, they would just get rebranded as A trains to go further north. In the afternoon, when those extra C trains end at Bedford Park Boulevard, they will either get rebranded as D trains or go back to the Concourse yard. The reason why I am not eliminating C trains in the reverse peak direction is because I don't want to create a huge imbalance between C trains in the peak and reverse peak direction. I don't want to create a scenario where we run out of trains from the Concourse nor the 173rd to 174th Street yards. Both options are not good, of course. So for both options, I am open to rerouting the C away from Central Park West and along Queens Boulevard with the E and have it replace the K route that I proposed under many deinterlining plans. For this to work, CBTC needs to be installed on the entirety of Central Park West, 6th Avenue, and 4th Avenue in Brooklyn so that the Concourse branch can get 24 trains per hour and the Inwood branch would get 12 trains per hour. This totals to 36 trains per hour in the central section, something that CBTC could handle. This will be enough capacity for the Concourse branch to continue having peak direction express trains. But that's when CBTC is installed. Otherwise, we're stuck with the C on Central Park West. And before I hear about tradition and how the C is a North Manhattan train, let me remind everyone of this. Remember the Christie Street connection in 1967? Or when double letters were abolished in 1985? Or when the MTA swapped the B and C trains in 1998? Or when the V was eliminated and combined to form the Orange M in 2010? Yeah, the MTA changes services all the time, so using tradition is not really a defense. Also, tradition has been used to justify some horrible historical mistakes, but I won't get into those. Anyway, I hope this video makes you revisit your deinterlining plans. And if you are feeling salty and want to roast me in the comments, come with the facts and roast me for what I said. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.